I lost my love for philosophy. I used to be known as the philosophical guy in my friend group. And whenever somebody had a question about some personal problem, they always came to me and then asked me for their help. And I usually used my understanding of philosophy, psychology, or science to help them in some way and still try to make it somewhat personal. But then also sometimes I used to help people when my help wasn't asked for, or I just gave them some weird philosophical framework when it really wasn't the right time. Like, I used to think that it would be best if you push a button and then destroy the entire earth because the suffering on this world is too bad to be accepted, and it would be morally righteous to just destroy everybody. I said this at a dinner table with friends. And yeah, I remember this one girl looking at me and just being like, "You are absolutely crazy." And despite my opinions definitely having changed, um, yeah, I was kind of like a double down Thanos at this time, where just like Thanos didn't do enough. Well, what I've learned is that since I have become quite existentially satisfied with my life, philosophy kind of lost its meaning or the point. And I know now how it must have felt like for those who weren't into philosophy being talked to about philosophy, because philosophy is really just a mechanism your mind uses to cope with the world. I'm starting to suspect that it has absolutely nothing to do with reality or truth finding. There's certainly intellectual curiosity there, and I'm not saying it's useless. There are many uses that philosophy can have for the mind, especially how to articulate yourself better and understand your own mental world. I'm also talking from, I guess, an arrogance standpoint because I have all of this, or my personal philosophy, so well integrated. But now when I see other people philosophizing, they are actually always avoiding the truth. Philosophy becomes this mechanism to never actually engage with an idea as something that can be known. When you are very philosophically minded, you often come to this idea that there is no truth to be known and that everything is basically just intellectual masturbation. And it's all just to soothe you into an experience of contemplation. And you start to believe that there's actually no truth to be found. And the funny thing is that there is a truth to be found, and it's actually accessible, both through philosophy, but especially also to personal and emotional integration, which is what the mind tries to avoid. Because it's not just emotional integration, like it doesn't actually just feel emotional, it feels life threatening. It feels existentially uncomfortable to disintegrate the parts of yourself that you thought were you. And this includes all your philosophical thoughts and frameworks and beliefs and ideas. Fundamental ideas, like what you think science means, what you think death is, what consciousness is. There's still a love that I have for these topics, but I don't like how philosophy approaches them because there are very few actual philosophers. There are very few people who actually can engage with intellectual thought in a new and interesting manner. Most people just borrow ideas from other people and then regurgitate them. Or they have a belief system that they defend because they are used to this belief system for like 3 or 4 years. So now attacking this belief system is very scary and uncomfortable. And it's not even registered as scary and uncomfortable. If you're philosophically minded, you just dismiss it. And even if you engage with the idea, you actually have already dismissed it before you have engaged with the idea. And it then just becomes about contemplating. It's rare to find somebody who actually wants to understand, who actually wants to expand their mind, and actually wants to develop their understanding of reality. Philosophy often keeps you mediocre, and that's why often it requires an existential experience, be it a traumatic experience, somebody dying, a car crash, or an amazing experience too, like falling in love, or birthing a child, or yeah, having a DMT trip. This changes you, right? It changes you because now the mind cannot escape into philosophy anymore. It doesn't matter what you think about reality. The child is born and now you need to take care of it. It doesn't matter how much you want to destroy the entire world with the press of a button, because suddenly you notice that you do kind of love people around you and you don't actually want them to suffer, and you feel like their autonomy actually means something. And it's not a thought. It is something you notice in experience. And what you notice in experience is this what brings you closer to actual truth. It is not a philosophy. The philosophy, what it's trying to do, it is trying to conceptualize in frameworks what you already have recognized to be true, and then it tries to filter it into uncertainty. And as long as it remains in the realm of intellectual mind, it can always remain in the realm of uncertainty. So philosophy is not different than just overthinking or thinking in most cases. Not saying that that has never an application or that has never use. I mean, technically, I'm doing philosophy in every single one of my videos when I give a framework to explain an idea or a concept to you. But practically, when you do it right, philosophy becomes something that changes and expands you because it moves you experientially to where it's uncomfortable. This is also the frustration that I always had with my own mind, because I feel like, okay, I'm so good in articulating all of these ideas and all of these concepts, but my life sucks anyway. Like, what's the point of being this intelligent and to conceptualize different frameworks of reality and understand what it could mean to have the block universe and time being relative, and the recursive loop of meaning and whatever the fuck, when I wake up and everything sucks, and if I hate to be in my body. And that's why when I came out of this existential mess, philosophy stopped meaning anything, because it was never about some truth. It was actually about pain. It was about suffering. It was about being uncomfortable. And the tricky thing is, even when you like, a part of realizing your true identity, or realizing your higher self or your true self or whatever you want to label it, a bigger part of this is that you understand, when you understand the nature of reality truly, not conceptually, but truly as a lived experience, you understand how powerless you are to it all. There's no power that you have to change the overall reality that you exist in. You are completely in its mercy. And the mind just uses frameworks and belief systems and ideologies to gain a bit of this power back, or to have the illusion of gaining some of this power back, when it actually just traps you into another box, or in an even smaller box. But how are you supposed to fight against the speed of light? How are you supposed to fight against entropy? How are you supposed to fight against impermanence, death, diseases? How are you supposed to fight against love, compassion, care, responsibility, consequences, the future? You can't. What you can do is put your attention to the things that actually matter to you. And this also includes what feels uncomfortable in your experience. So what the mind does, it uses every possible way to control the quality and sensations of experience. And this is what creates the identity that doesn't expand its horizon into new forms of thinking. So what I commend you, if you can do this, is to drop all philosophy you have. And it extends not just from philosophy, it's very fundamental ideas of what science is, what spirituality is, what you are. How good are you in sitting and not knowing what is going to happen 1 minute from now, 1 hour from now, 10 hours from now? There's an uncertainty about reality that is embodied all the time. The brain is a prediction making machine. It tries to predict what is going to happen next all the time. But if you take an honest look at yourself, there's nothing you can predict, ever. It only happens, and when it happens, it's known. Then you become it. Then the idea of being scared of putting yourself out there becomes I feel scared because I am putting myself out there. The idea of building a business or growing your relationships or whatever it is that your heart desires, not your mind, your heart desires, becomes reality by the action of doing it, not by thinking about it. Only then you actually transform as a human being, as a person. And then your philosophy can actually be applied to a life that changes. It is so easy to think. It is so easy to get frustrated by how things are not working out. What is difficult is to take whatever philosophical framework you have and make an actionable application for it. This is what's difficult. And I started this. I started to realize this later in my philosophical career, if you so will, that if I cannot make philosophy into actionable steps, then what's the point? If I cannot figure out how to use my philosophical knowledge to build a business that I'm proud of and help people in a way that feels meaningful to me, then what is the point? If I cannot use the philosophy to make myself happy and content and feel satisfied about my life and impact other people's lives positively, then what's the point? Which is a complete inversion of nihilism in some sense, which says that there is no point into anything, or why would there be a point to anything? Which, to be honest, it's not really that, because then there's also the concept of a superhuman, and I guess this is what I'm arguing for, actually. But yeah, there also starts the next barrier that I used to have, right? Why build for anything if none of this matters at all? Because we all die because of entropy, and then you can see, or you can witness how your mind is trying to take a philosophical framework to justify its discomfort towards action. And you can see this again and again and again and again. It's like you want a reason to do something when you already know the reason. You already know what you want to do. You already know what your body would do naturally if you don't think about it. But you feel the need to think about it. And it's this that is toxic and a venom that is destroying you from the inside. Truth is, you have a ton of internal problems in your experience, in your life, that you're trying to control and to manipulate. And now you're looking for guides on how to find abundance and how to manifest infinite wealth and how to become the controller of this reality. Well, I got bad news for you. There is no control. Absolutely none of it. All you're thinking is just desperately trying to grasp for control that does not exist. Philosophy is just a clever marketing ploy to buy you in to new forms of thinking. But what they'll all do is they all point you to the same brutal fact that you cannot escape your experience. It is not possible. When you imagine no self or a realization or some sort of states of higher personal development, the only thing that actually is happening is that you integrate your own shadow, your own uncomfortable past experiences into your present moment experience. It's a psychological process. And from there, there's a magic that spawns about the nature of reality, about life. But you know what happens when you become happy and content? You stop philosophizing. You stop caring that much about the nature of reality because it's all about you. It's all about you not being able to accept what is happening, about you trying to think your way out of reality and sneak yourself into some sort of philosophical framework where you just can ignore your feelings. You can just ignore what you must do. You cannot escape your life. It's not possible. You will have to go through the bad experiences. You will have to revisit the things that were deeply uncomfortable for you. I am sorry, but there's no other way. I hate philosophy, and I say this as a philosopher myself, but I'm just tired of seeing people use philosophy to spin circles around their head or in their head and never actually find the core truth that they're hiding from, which might be a specific experience that you've had in your past that you're just not able to revisit, or you just refuse to revisit. And now you're imagining entire philosophical frameworks and constructs and build this elaborate mental maze so that you can hide your mind in this mental maze to not confront the brutality of what it means to be a person, what it means to be alive. You want to deconstruct the maze. You want to deconstruct philosophy. You want to deconstruct spirituality. You want to become your own guru. Only you can know what you must do to find peace within yourself. And others can guide you. I can guide you. Everybody can help you realize something about yourself. But at the end of the day, the person who does the work is yourself. When you go and meditate, when you work out, when you do anything that brings you out of your comfort zone and you start to feel negative emotions, then you know you're on the right track. Then you know you're doing something that changes a part within you. Then it becomes uncomfortable. But nobody wants to feel uncomfortable. Everybody just wants to mentally masturbate on philosophical ideas and thoughts. And I've been pretty sure for a while now that every single person who is philosophically inclined, which I used to be, I mean, right now I use philosophy to explain all of these ideas, but every single person who's philosophically inclined is just trying to deal with their depressive thoughts. It's just trying to deal with their anxiety. I am starting to believe that there's almost no value for most people who are deep into philosophy. What actually is valuable is to think for yourself as a philosopher, but to copy and take other philosophical ideas from other people and then use them for some mental framework, I think it just builds on your ego. I just think it builds on an identity that is at the end of the day keeping you down. Because whatever new framework you developed of how reality functions just becomes a new way you can feel a bit more comfortable in this uncertainty we're all in. But I just want you to picture something, okay? Imagine you found the nature of reality, you found out determinism is true and nihilism is partly right, and we found the theory of consciousness or whatever. And don't get me wrong, I still love all of these topics and conversations. I just don't need them. It is something that is interesting if we can make it practical for other people. But imagine now you have found all of the truths of reality and you're enlightened and you're just completely happy. Now imagine what would your framework mean if you were a spider? The moment you change operating system in the way you react to reality and experience reality and put it into another being, just another form of being, like an animal, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whatsoever. And you then start to philosophize. Okay, but I won't ever be a spider. What does it matter if you put myself in such an abstract situation? This is super unrealistic. You are doing philosophy right now. Well, if you care about the nature of reality, then a spider is reality, right? Other beings are reality. And look how I now need to use philosophy in order to explain you something very simple. The perspective you take, no matter what perspective you take, no matter what lens you take, it distorts everything. Because depending on what lens you take, you see reality in that way. And what you're actually trying to do is take the cleanest lens possible that looks at truth the most honest way possible. And this means cleaning the lens from all the dogma, ideologies, filters, biases that keep you in your current mode of being if you're unhappy, right? And then the problem with philosophy is that, yeah, for a certain part of my life, it also helped me to clean that lens. But for a lot of it, or for most people, it just makes it more muddy. It makes it more confusing. That's why what people need the most is just clarity. It's just like taking an idea and defining what it means and saying this is what it means and simplifying ideas. And often the simplification can actually only happen through your own self-reflection. Like you want to be a philosopher for yourself. And instead of elaborating these complex frameworks, simplify them down into just what it actually means to be alive for you. Like what is actually important to you right now. What I used to do is that I used to say, okay, I don't have purpose in life, I don't know what my purpose is, but then I immediately went into it's impossible to find purpose because reality is empty. So this in of itself became like a philosophical way of thinking. And there is a truth to it, right? It's not that it's just pulled out of my ass, but then this idea gets used in moments of action. Like I looked at the mirror and I thought, okay, I wish I would care more about my body. I wish I would do something more to be healthier. But then sneakily, sometimes in the subconscious, it's like, we are all empty anyway. Who cares? And then you don't do anything. Philosophy has this quality of confronting you, like you are confronting your life with an action, and then you have a philosophical thought, and then you say, why take this action if I could just think about it? Why take this action if I can just construct a neat little framework about it? This is why philosophy is toxic for the mind. It helps you a certain while, and then after a while, it is just a way to bond with your trauma. It's an egoic way to trauma bond and try to heal the wound. And again, it can be helpful for a certain time, but only if you're allowed to drop it. You want to drop everything. You want to drop philosophy, you want to drop spirituality, and to a certain extent, you also want to drop psychology. Strip all these ideas away from your mind. Because what if I ask you what is psychology? What is spirituality? What is philosophy? I can give you very neat and nice little packaged definitions, and then you can say, yeah, this makes a ton of sense. Spirituality is psychological liberation or psychological health or the internal examination of reality. And you could say the same about spirituality. And then about science, you could say it's the external examination of reality. And we can define it this way, right? But now in your life, right now in this moment, what does any of it mean? It's nothing, it's air. There's no way you can apply any of this. It's just definitions. And they can give you clarity, they can be useful. I mean, this is what a ton of what I do. But if you don't put in the work to move through your negative shit, you won't change. You can only change when you're able to deconstruct and drop these ideas for yourself. Then you'll find the magic of reality that all philosophy, all spirituality, and all science always was trying to point towards. It's real. It's kind of magical. But it happens through deconstruction and by healing the poison that all of these ideas have put into your mind. Forget all of it. Know less instead of know more. And you'll find much more chill in your day-to-day experience. Because instead of questioning the meaning of life when you make coffee, you enjoy the coffee of the morning. This was my message for today.